Husband leaves wife during chemotherapy, but she returns with 3 children who look just like him. Emily Johnson gripped her purse strap tightly as she walked through the halls of Mercy Medical Center in Denver. The sound of her footsteps echoed in the tense silence that had followed her for the past 3 months. Beside her, Ryan walked quietly, his face closed off and shoulders tense as they always were when they had to go to the hospital. "Are you sure you don't want me to come in with you today?" Ryan asked, stopping in front of the oncology department door. Emily looked at him with an expression that mixed hope and resignation. At 35, she had lost all her hair during treatment, but her brown eyes still shone with the same determination as always. "Of course I want you." "Too, Ryan, I always have," she replied, adjusting the navy blue scarf covering her bald head. He sighed heavily and looked away. "It's just, you know how hard it is for me to see you like this. I can't." Emily felt her heart tighten. This wasn't the first time he'd said that. In fact, ever since she had been diagnosed with breast cancer, Ryan seemed to be pulling further and further away. The chemotherapy sessions had become a burden she carried alone, while he found excuses not to accompany her. "It's okay," Emily whispered, forcing a smile. "I understand." But she didn't understand. She didn't understand how the man she had married 5 years ago, who had vowed to stand by her in sickness and in health, was now abandoning her just when she needed him most. Ryan quickly kissed her forehead, a gesture that felt more like an obligation than affection. "I'll pick you up when you're done, okay?" Emily nodded and watched him walk away down the hall, his hurried steps betraying his relief at not having to enter that hospital room. She took a deep breath and pushed through the glass door, stepping into the oncology waiting area. The setting was all too familiar. Blue plastic chairs, old magazines scattered across side tables, the sharp scent of disinfectant mixed with the artificial fragrance of air fresheners. Emily approached the reception desk where the receptionist, Debbie, greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. How are you feeling today?" "Much better, thank you, Debbie. The nausea has eased a lot since the last session." "That's great. Dr. Jennifer is already waiting for you. You can go straight to room 3. Emily walked down the hall until she found the room where she would undergo her 14th chemotherapy session. The nurse, Tamika, a black woman around 50, welcomed her with her usual maternal warmth. "Hey there, my warrior. Ready for another battle?" "Always," Emily replied, settling into the recliner where she would spend the next 4 hours. As Tamika prepared the equipment and checked her vitals, Emily gazed out the window at the street below. It was a typical Tuesday morning in Denver, with heavy traffic and people rushing to their appointments, a normal life she longed to return to. "Your husband didn't come today?" Tamika asked, carefully inserting the needle into her vein. Emily hesitated before answering. "He has work. There are a lot of important projects at the office." Tamika gave her a look that made it clear she wasn't convinced, but she didn't press further. After 10 years working in oncology, she had seen many marriages crumble under the weight of a serious illness. "I see," she said simply, adjusting the drip rate. The first 2 hours passed quietly. Emily tried to distract herself with a romance novel she had brought, but her mind kept drifting back to Ryan. She remembered when they first met at a mutual friend's wedding. He was a civil engineer, working at a small but promising construction company in Denver. She, with a degree in education, taught at a private school downtown. Their courtship had been quick and intense. Ryan was attentive, affectionate, always concerned about her well-being. When he proposed, Emily didn't hesitate for a second. She had found the man of her life, or at least that's what she believed. The first years of marriage were happy. They bought a simple but cozy house in the Ridgeview neighborhood and began making plans to have children. Emily even stopped taking birth control, but pregnancy never came. After some tests, they discovered she had trouble conceiving, but they decided to try treatment when the time was right. The right time never came. And when Emily found out she had cancer during a routine exam, the entire dynamic of their relationship changed drastically. "Emily?" The voice of Dr. Jennifer Miller pulled her from her thoughts. The oncologist, an elegant woman around 45, entered the room with her file folder and a professional smile. "Doctor, how are you?" "I'm well, thank you. And you? How have you been feeling since your last session?" Emily described her symptoms, which were thankfully milder than during the first sessions. The fatigue was still intense, but the nausea had lessened significantly. "Great. Your tests from last week showed a very good response to treatment. The tumor has shrunk another 15%. Emily's heart swelled with hope. "Does that mean—" "It means we're on the right track. If we keep this up, you'll have excellent chances of a full recovery." Emily felt her eyes fill with tears of relief. Finally, some good news to share with Ryan. Maybe this would help him feel more optimistic about the situation. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. When the session ended, Emily felt stronger than she had in weeks. The confirmation that treatment was working had renewed her hope. She gathered her things and headed to the reception area where Ryan was supposed to meet her, but he wasn't there. Emily waited 15 minutes, then 20. She called his cell, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried his office and the secretary said he'd left for an off-site meeting with no estimated return time. "Mrs. Johnson," Debbie from reception called. "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" "My husband. He must be running late. I'll wait a little longer." But deep down, Emily knew something was wrong. Ryan was never this late without warning. She decided to take a taxi home, thinking maybe he'd had trouble at work. The house was empty when she arrived. Emily looked around the living room, which felt strangely too tidy. She went upstairs to the bedroom, and that's when she noticed Ryan's dresser was empty. His closet too. Only a few old shirts remained hanging. Emily's heart began to race. She rushed downstairs to the kitchen and found an envelope on the table, her name written in Ryan's familiar handwriting. With trembling hands, she opened it and read, "Emily, I know this isn't the right time for this conversation, but I can't pretend everything's okay anymore. I can't handle your illness. I can't watch you fading day after day. It's not that I don't love you, I'm just not strong enough to go through this. I'll be staying at my mom's for a while. I need to think, to clear my head. Maybe it's better for both of us to take some time apart." Ryan, Emily read the letter 3 times before she could fully process what was happening. Ryan had left her. On the day she received the best news since starting treatment, he had decided to walk away. She sat on the kitchen floor and cried like she hadn't in months. She cried for the illness, the loneliness, the disappointment, the feeling of being betrayed by the person she trusted most in the world. By the time she pulled herself together, it was already night. Emily called her best friend, Samantha, who lived in Chicago. "Emily, how was your session today?" "Samantha," her voice cracked. "Ryan left me." The silence on the other end lasted a few seconds. "What do you mean he left you?" Emily told her everything, from Ryan's strange behavior over the past few months to the letter she'd found. "That bastard!" Samantha exploded. "What kind of man abandons his sick wife?" "I don't know what to do, Samantha. I feel so lost." "You're going to be okay, Emily. You're so much stronger than you think, and that idiot doesn't deserve you." They talked for nearly 2 hours. Samantha offered to come stay with Emily for a few days, but she preferred to be alone to process everything that had happened. In the days that followed, Emily tried to keep a normal routine. She continued going to chemotherapy sessions alone, started tutoring again to stay busy, but the empty house echoed her loneliness. Ryan gave no sign of life. Emily heard through mutual acquaintances that he was really staying at his mother Mrs. Sullivan's house, but she couldn't bring herself to reach out. If he had made this decision when she needed him most, then maybe it was better they stayed apart. 2 weeks after he left, Emily was coming back from the grocery store when she saw Ryan standing at the front door. He looked worn out, with dark circles under his eyes and an unshaven beard. "Hi," he said, unable to look directly at her. "Hi," Emily replied, stopping a few feet away. "Can we talk?" Emily hesitated. Part of her wanted to send him away, but another part still held hope. They could work things out. "Sure, come in." They sat in the living room, an awkward silence hanging in the air. "How are you?" Ryan asked. Surviving, Emily answered flatly. Emily, I know there's no excuse for what I did. I know I left you when you needed me most. Yes, you did. Ryan ran his hands through his hair, a nervous gesture Emily knew. Well, I can't do it, Emily. I try, but I can't be strong like you. Every time I see you in that hospital, every time I see you bald, thin, suffering, I fall apart. And you think I don't? Emily's voice rose. You think this is easy? For me. The difference is I don't have a choice. I know it's selfish of me. It's incredibly selfish, Ryan. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of promises that we'd be together forever, and at the first real hardship, you run away. Ryan hung his head, clearly ashamed. I want to try again, Emily. I want to come home. I want to be the husband you deserve. Emily studied him for a long time. Part of her wanted to believe he had changed, that he truly wanted to stand by her, but another part knew she could never trust him the same way again. I don't know if we can go back to how things were, Ryan. I know it'll be hard, but we can try. I promise I'll do better. You've promised that before at the altar, remember? For better or worse, in sickness and in health. Ryan had no answer. The truth weighed between them like a stone. Emily took a deep breath. You can come home, Ryan, but things won't be the same. I need time to learn to trust you again. I understand. I'll do everything to earn back your trust. Ryan returned home that same night, but the dynamic between them had completely changed. They slept in the same room, yet it felt like strangers, sharing a space. Their conversations were polite but shallow. Ryan tried to be more present, attending some of her chemotherapy sessions, but Emily could tell he did it more out of obligation than genuine desire. The treatment continued to progress well. With each session, the tests showed improvement. The tumor was shrinking steadily, and Dr. Jennifer grew increasingly optimistic. Emily, I have wonderful news, the oncologist said during one appointment. The latest tests show no trace of the tumor. The treatment was a complete success. Emily couldn't hold back tears of joy. Does that mean I'm cured? It means you're in complete remission. We'll continue with regular checkups, but yes, you're cured. When Emily arrived home with the news, she found Ryan watching TV in the living room. Ryan, I have amazing news. He turned off the TV and faced her. I'm officially cured. Dr. Jennifer said there's no trace of the tumor left. Ryan's face lit up for the first time in months. Emily, that's wonderful. He stood and hugged her. I knew you could do it. For a moment, Emily felt they might find happiness again. Maybe her recovery would heal their relationship too. But the feeling didn't last. In the following days, despite the good news, Ryan grew distant again. Emily began noticing small, unsettling signs. He came home late from work more often, was always on his phone, and dodged questions about his day. One afternoon, while tidying the bedroom, Emily found a slip of paper in Ryan's jeans pocket, a receipt from an expensive restaurant in downtown Denver, dated the previous day. It was for 2 people. Emily sat on the bed, staring at the paper. Ryan had claimed he'd worked late and only grabbed a quick snack. Why lie about dinner at a restaurant? She decided not to confront him right away. Instead, she paid closer attention. Ryan really was coming home later, always blaming work. He took calls in another room. Sometimes his clothes carried the scent of a woman's perfume, not hers. With each discovery, Emily's heart ached, but part of her still hoped she was wrong. Maybe it was just coincidence, paranoia after all they'd been through. The confirmation came 3 weeks later. Emily had arranged to meet her friend Samantha, who'd finally made it from Chicago to visit. They met at Westfield Mall in the late afternoon to catch up. You look beautiful, Emily, Samantha said as soon as she saw her. Your hair's growing back and you look so much healthier. Thank you, I do feel much better. It's amazing how you adjust to adversity. They were having coffee when Samantha, who was facing the food court, suddenly stopped talking and widened her eyes. Emily, don't look now, but what is it? Ryan's over there in the food court with a woman. Emily's blood ran cold. Are you sure it's him? Positive. And Emily, they're very close. She has her hand on his arm. They're laughing. Emily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. What does she look like? Blonde. Younger than you. Dressed nicely like she works in an office. Emily felt a mix of anger, sadness, and strangely relief. She finally had confirmation of what she already suspected. "Do you want to leave?" asked Samantha, concerned. "No, I want to see them." Emily turned discreetly and managed to spot Ryan. He was at a table about 20 feet away, chatting animatedly with a blonde woman around 30 years old. They really did seem close, and their body language left no doubt there was something romantic between them. "How long do you think this has been going on?" asked Samantha. "I don't know, maybe since before he came back home. Maybe he only returned out of guilt while still seeing her." They watched for a few minutes. Emily saw Ryan kiss the woman's hand, saw her laugh at something he said, saw him pay the bill like a true gentleman. "Let's go," Emily finally said. On the way home, Samantha tried to comfort her, but Emily was oddly calm. "I'm not surprised," she said. "Deep down, I already knew." "What are you going to do?" "I'll confront him, but this time I won't give a second chance." When they arrived at Emily's house, Ryan hadn't returned yet. The friends talked for a few more hours, until Samantha had to catch her bus back to Chicago. "Call me if you need anything," Samantha said before leaving. "And remember, you're a warrior. You survived cancer. You'll survive this too." Ryan got home around 10 at night, with his usual excuse about overtime. "How was your day?" he asked, giving her a kiss on the cheek that Emily found repulsive. "Interesting," she replied. "Samantha came to visit." "Oh, that's nice. How is she?" "Good. We went to Westfield Mall for coffee." Emily studied Ryan's face, looking for any sign of nervousness. He remained calm. "Glad you two got to catch up." "Yeah, and you? How was work?" "Busy as usual. We had a meeting that ran late, so I got home late." Emily nodded, pretending to believe him. "Ryan, can we talk? It's important." He seemed to notice the seriousness in her tone. "Of course, what's wrong?" They sat in the living room. Emily took a deep breath before speaking. "I saw you today at the mall, with a woman." Ryan's face instantly paled. "Emily, Don't lie to me anymore, please. I've been through enough pain." Ryan hung his head, clearly defeated. "How did you find out?" "Samantha saw you. You were in the food court, very cozy." Ryan was silent for a long time. "How long?" asked Emily. "Emily, please." "How long, Ryan?" He sighed heavily. "A few months." "Since you abandoned me?" "Since before." The answer felt like a punch to Emily's gut. "You cheated on me while I was going through chemotherapy." "Emily, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" Her voice began to rise. "Explain to me how you cheat on a woman fighting cancer." "I was desperate. I didn't know how to handle it. She came into my life when I was completely lost." "Who is she?" "She's the new architect at the office. She started a few months ago." Emily felt nauseous. "So you left me for her, and then came back home? Why?" "Guilt." "I came back because I love you, Emily. I've always loved you." "Don't talk to me about love now." Emily stood up, furious. "Love doesn't abandon. Love doesn't cheat. Love doesn't lie." "I know I messed up, Emily. I know I did everything wrong, but we can try." "No," Emily cut him off. "There's nothing left to try. You made your choice when you decided to betray me at my lowest point." Ryan tried to reach for her, but Emily stepped back. "Emily, please. I ended things with her. I chose you." "You didn't choose anything. You sat on the fence, trying to have both. And now that I've found out, you want to pretend you're a man of character." "I can change, Emily. I can be the man you deserve." Emily looked at him with a mix of pity and disgust. "Ryan, you had two chances to be the man I deserved. The first when I found out about the cancer. The second when you came back home promising things would be different. You wasted both. Emily, I want you out of the house tomorrow. For good this time. Where am I supposed to stay? That's no longer my problem. Maybe your little girlfriend can help you with that." Ryan tried to argue for a few more minutes, but Emily was unshakable. She had made her decision and wouldn't go back on it. The next day, as Ryan packed his bags, Emily watched from the bedroom window. It was strange how she felt both sad and relieved at the same time. sad for the definitive end of their marriage, but relieved she wouldn't have to live with suspicion and someone who clearly didn't love her enough anymore. "Emily," Ryan appeared at the bedroom door, "I'm going to miss you." "I'll miss the man I thought you were," she replied without turning around. "If you change your mind, I won't." Ryan stood there for a few more seconds, then picked up his bags and left. Emily heard the door close and knew it was truly over. That night, she called Samantha. "How are you holding up?" her friend asked. "Strangely okay. I think I'd been preparing for this for a while." "You were very brave, Emily. I had no choice. I couldn't keep living a lie. And now, what are your plans?" Emily looked around the house she had shared with Ryan for 5 years. "Honestly, I don't know. I think I'll start over. Maybe that's exactly what I need." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The following months were a complete reset for Emily. She decided to sell the house, which held too many painful memories, and rented a smaller apartment in downtown Denver. With the money from the sale, she paid off some debts and still had a decent amount left to begin again. The divorce process was relatively smooth. Ryan didn't contest anything and agreed to split their assets fairly. Emily suspected he was eager to wrap things up quickly so he could publicly acknowledge his relationship with the architect. During this time, Emily rediscovered who she was outside of marriage. She threw herself back into her career, took on more private tutoring sessions, and even considered returning to school teaching. Her hair grew back, thicker and prettier than before. She gained weight and regained her healthy appearance. Her regular checkups with Dr. Jennifer continued, and her tests always showed she remained in full remission. One Saturday afternoon, Emily was grocery shopping when she heard a child's voice calling her name. "Aunt Emily, Aunt Emily." She turned and saw a boy around 8 years old running toward her. It was Michael, the son of her neighbor Karen, who lived in the apartment next door. "Hi, Michael. How are you?" "Aunt Emily, can you help me? Mom said you're a teacher and know math." Emily smiled. Since moving into the apartment, she had grown close to Karen and her 3 kids. Karen was a divorced woman who worked as a sales clerk at a clothing store and raised her children alone. "Of course I can help. What's the question?" Michael pulled a notebook from his backpack and showed her a math problem he couldn't solve. "Let's take a look." Emily knelt down to the boy's level and began explaining patiently. While helping Michael, Emily didn't realize she was being watched. Across the supermarket aisle, a man around 40 observed the scene with interest. It was Robert William Anderson, a pediatrician at City General Hospital in Denver. He'd noticed the patience and kindness with which Emily explained the problem to the boy, and it had caught his attention. Robert was alone at the supermarket because his weekend routine always included grocery shopping for the week. He was single, fully dedicated to medicine, and rarely had time for relationships. When Emily finished helping Michael and the boy ran off to find his mother, Robert approached. "Excuse my intrusion," he said. "I'm Robert, a doctor at City General. I couldn't help noticing how kind you were with that boy." Emily looked at the man before her. He was tall, with slightly graying brown hair, gentle blue eyes, and a sincere smile. "Oh, thank you. I'm Emily, a teacher. Michael is my neighbor's son." "A teacher? What a coincidence. My work at the hospital involves lots of interaction with children. I always admire those with patience to handle them." They chatted for several minutes right there in the supermarket. Robert was charismatic and interesting, and Emily found herself laughing genuinely for the first time in months. "Listen," Robert finally said, "I know we just met, but would you like to get coffee sometime? It'd be nice to get to know you better." Emily hesitated. She was still adjusting to being single again and didn't know if she was ready to get involved with someone. "I actually just went through a divorce. I'm still a bit confused about everything." "I completely understand. It doesn't have to be romantic. Just coffee between people who hit it off. No pressure." Emily thought for a few seconds. Robert seemed genuinely interested in friendship, with no ulterior motives. "All right, Coffee sounds nice. They exchanged numbers and planned to meet the following week. When Emily got home, Karen was in the building's common area chatting with other residents. "Emily, Michael told me you helped him with his homework at the supermarket. Thank you so much." "Don't mention it, Karen. It was my pleasure. You always have such incredible patience with kids. Sometimes I think you'd make a wonderful mother." The comment touched a wound Emily was trying to forget. Her inability to have children had been one of the greatest frustrations in her marriage. To Ryan, "Yeah, maybe someday," she replied, forcing a smile. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you." "You didn't. It's just complicated." Karen looked at her with understanding. "If you ever want to talk about it, I'm here. Sometimes it helps to open up to someone who gets it." Emily thanked her and went up to her apartment. That night, she kept thinking about her conversation with Karen and her encounter with Robert. Maybe it really was time to start opening herself to new possibilities. The meeting with Robert happened on a Wednesday afternoon at a cozy coffee shop in downtown Denver. They talked for over 2 hours about work, family, hobbies, and life perspectives. "So you recently went through cancer?" Robert asked when Emily mentioned her treatment. "Yes, it was a very difficult time, but thankfully I'm cured now." "That's wonderful. It must have been a transformative experience." "It was. It made me rethink many things about life and the people around me." Robert nodded understandingly. "I can imagine. Illness has a way of showing who's truly by your side." "Exactly." Emily was surprised by his sensitivity on the subject. "And your ex-husband? How did he handle the situation?" Emily hesitated before answering. "Not very well, actually. He left me during my treatment." Robert looked at her with genuine indignation. "Really? What kind of person does something like that?" "Exactly. I learned that some people just can't handle adversity." "I'm so sorry you went through that. But from what I can see, you came out stronger from the experience." "I tried to, at least." The conversation flowed naturally, and Emily felt comfortable sharing some details of her life. Robert, in turn, talked about his dedication to pediatric medicine and how he'd chosen that specialty out of love for children. "Never married?" Emily asked. "Almost. I had a serious relationship a few years ago, but she couldn't handle my work schedule. Said I loved the hospital more than her." "And was it true?" Robert laughed. "Maybe it was. I really am very dedicated to my work. But I believe it's possible to balance career and relationships as long as it's with the right person." When they said goodbye, both felt a good friendship had begun. Robert offered to drive her home, but Emily preferred to take the bus, not quite ready for that much closeness. Over the next few days, they exchanged messages on the messaging app, light-hearted chats about daily life, some jokes, sharing interesting articles. Emily caught herself smiling whenever she got a message from him. 2 weeks later, Robert invited her to see a project he was coordinating at the hospital, a support program for children with cancer. "I thought you might be interested," he said. "Since you're a teacher and have been through the experience of illness, you could contribute a lot." Curious, Emily accepted the invitation. City General Hospital was a large, busy building. Robert met her at reception and took her to the pediatric wing where the program operated. "Here we treat children from all over the Denver metro area," he explained as they walked the halls. "Many come from low-income families and stay hospitalized for long periods." They reached a colorful room filled with toys, books, and educational games. About 15 children of varying ages were there, some bald from treatment, others wearing colorful scarves or hats. "Kids," Robert called, "I want to introduce a special friend. This is Ms. Emily." The children looked at her curiously. A girl around 10 years old approached. "Did you have cancer too, Mom?" she asked, eyeing Emily's short hair. Emily knelt to meet her at eye level. "I did." "How did you know?" "My hair looked like that when it grew back after chemo." "Did you get better? Completely better, and you?" "The doctor said I'm almost better too." The girl's smile was contagious. Emily felt her heart warm. For the next 2 hours, Emily interacted with the children, helped with educational activities, and told stories. She realized how her own experience with cancer connected her to them in a special way. "You were amazing today," Robert said as they left the hospital. "The kids loved you." I loved being with them too. It's comforting to see how bravely they face illness. Would you like to come more often? We always need volunteers, especially teachers. Emily didn't hesitate. I'd love to. And so began a new chapter in Emily's life. Twice a week, she went to the hospital to help with the cancer support program. She tutored, told stories, organized playful activities, and most importantly, offered emotional support as someone who'd been through the same experience. Robert was impressed by her dedication. Emily had a natural gift for working with children, and her own story of overcoming adversity inspired both the young patients and their families. Over time, the friendship between Emily and Robert grew deeper. They began spending time together, not just to discuss the hospital project, but also to go out to dinner, catch a movie, or simply take walks through the city parks. Emily felt she was rediscovering how nice it was to have companionship, to talk with someone who truly cared about her thoughts and feelings. Robert, in turn, admired her strength and determination, qualities few of his past relationships had offered. 3 months after meeting during a romantic dinner, Robert took Emily's hand across the table. "Emily, I need to tell you something." She looked at him, slightly apprehensive. "Go ahead. I'm falling in love with you." Emily's heart raced. She had been developing feelings for Robert too, but she was still afraid to fully let herself go. "Robert, I know you're still healing from your divorce. I'm not demanding anything or pressuring you. I just wanted you to know how I feel." Emily smiled, touched by his sensitivity. "I'm falling for you too, but I need a little more time." "Take all the time you need." They continued getting to know each other at their own pace. Robert respected Emily's rhythm, and she felt safer with him by the day. It was nothing like what she had experienced with Ryan. Robert was present, attentive, and genuinely invested in her happiness. One day, Emily decided to introduce Robert to Karen and her children. The neighbor had become a close friend, and her opinion mattered. "So this is the famous Robert," Karen said when they met at Emily's apartment. "Famous?" Robert laughed, slightly embarrassed. "Emily speaks very highly of you, and by the look in her eyes when she does, I can tell you're special." Karen's children were fascinated by Robert. He had a natural way with them, telling jokes, playing games, and even helping Michael with another math problem. "He's perfect," Karen whispered to Emily as Robert entertained the kids in the living room. "Completely different from your ex-husband." "It really is different," Emily agreed. "Are you happy?" Emily watched Robert making the children laugh, with his animal impressions. "I'm starting to believe I can be happy again." 6 months after meeting, Emily and Robert made their relationship official. There was no pressure, no ultimatums. It was a natural decision, made when they both felt ready. Robert moved into Emily's apartment, and they began building a life together based on mutual respect, companionship, and deep love. Their volunteer work at the hospital remained an important part of their lives. Emily had become a beloved figure among the children and their families. Her story of resilience inspired everyone, and she often received thank-you letters from parents whose children had been touched by her presence. A year into their relationship, during one of their hospital sessions, something happened that would completely change the course of their lives. Emily was telling stories to a group of children when a nurse approached her. "Emily, there's a woman outside who'd like to speak with you. She says it's very important." Emily found it odd, but asked Robert to take over the activities and went to see who it was. In the waiting room, she found a woman around 60 years old, well-dressed but with a distressed expression. The woman stood as soon as she saw Emily. "Are you the teacher, Emily? The one who works with the children here?" "Yes, that's me. Did you want to speak with me?" "My name is Margaret Wilson. My grandson has been here for 3 weeks. Leukemia." Emily felt her heart tighten. "I'm so sorry. How can I help you?" Margaret hesitated before continuing. "My grandson, he talks about you a lot. Said you understand how he feels because you were sick too." "That's true. I had cancer 2 years ago." He also said, Margaret seemed to struggle with the words. "He said you don't have children, but that you care for all the kids here as if they were your own." Emily didn't know where this conversation was going. "The children here are very special to me." "Miss Emily," Margaret's voice cracked, "I need to tell you something very important about you." About me? Margaret took a deep breath. 37 years ago, I gave up 3 babies for adoption. They were triplets. I was very young, unmarried, with no means to raise them. Emily was confused, not understanding the relevance of the story. I'm sorry for what you went through, but one of the babies was a girl, born on March 15, 1988, at University Medical Center in Denver. Emily's blood ran cold. March 15, 1988 was exactly her birthday, and she knew she'd been born at University Medical Center. I don't understand. Emily, I'm your birth mother, and you have twin brothers. Emily's world seemed to stop. She sank heavily into a chair, trying to process the information. How can you be sure? I never stopped looking for you 3. I hired a private investigator a few years ago. When I learned that a teacher named Emily Johnson, born on that exact date, was working here at the hospital, I came to see for myself. Emily was shaking. And my brothers? Your brothers are named David and Daniel. They live here in Denver too. David is a veterinarian, Daniel is a civil engineer. They don't know about you either. Why did you give me up for adoption? Margaret began to cry. I was only 16. My parents kicked me out when they found out I was pregnant. Your father disappeared as soon as he heard about the babies. I had no way to raise 3 children alone. And now? Why did you decide to find me? Because I'm getting old, Emily. I'm 61, and my husband passed away last year. My only living relatives are my grandson who's sick and you 3 who don't even know I exist. Emily couldn't stop trembling. Her entire life had changed in minutes. I need time to process this. I understand. I know it's a shock. Margaret pulled an envelope from her purse. Here are some photos of you as babies and your brothers' addresses. If you want to meet them, or if you never want to see me again, I'll understand. Emily took the envelope with shaking hands. Would you like to meet my brothers too? More than anything in the world. But I know they might not want to. I know I have no right to ask. Emily opened the envelope and saw the photos. 3 identical babies sleeping side by side in a hospital nursery. On the back of one photo was written, Emily, David and Daniel, 03-15-1988. We were identical? You were. David and Daniel still look very alike. You look more like me when I was young. Emily studied Margaret's face and saw the resemblance in their eyes and bone structure. I need to go, Emily said, standing up. Emily, wait. She turned. I just wanted to say I've always thought about you, every day of my life, and I'm so proud of the woman you've become. Emily felt tears welling. I'll think about all this, okay? Okay. Emily walked back into the hospital in shock. Robert immediately noticed something was wrong. What happened? You're pale. Robert, I need to go home. Now. They quickly said goodbye to the children and left the hospital. On the way home, Emily told Ryan everything that had happened. My God, Emily, are you sure she's telling the truth? The dates match, the birthplace matches, and she has photos. And now? What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm completely lost. When they arrived at the apartment, Emily locked herself in the bedroom for a few hours, looking at the photos and trying to process the information. She had siblings, twin brothers who lived in the same city as her and didn't know she existed. Robert respected her space, but made himself available to talk whenever she was ready. That night, Emily made a decision. Robert, I want to meet them. Are you sure? Yes, I've spent my whole life feeling alone in the world, discovering I have sibling. I can't waste this opportunity. How will you do it? I'll look for them, starting tomorrow. Emily spent the night awake, planning how she would approach her brothers. Margaret had left addresses and phone numbers, but it didn't feel right to just call and say, "Hi, I'm your sister you never knew existed." The next morning, she decided to start with David, the veterinarian. According to Margaret's information, he had a clinic in the Highland Park neighborhood. Emily and Robert drove there, but she asked him to wait in the car. I'd rather do this alone first. St. Francis Veterinary Clinic was a small but well-organized establishment. Emily walked in and was greeted by the receptionist. Good morning. I'd like to speak with Dr. David, if possible. He's with a patient right now. Do you have a pet for an appointment? Actually, it's personal. It's very important. The receptionist looked at her curiously. I'll see if he can meet with you in a few minutes. Emily waited in the lobby, more nervous than she'd ever been. 15 minutes later, a tall man appeared at the front desk. Emily held her breath. David looked exactly as she'd imagined. He had the same brown eyes as her, the same face shape, even the same way of walking. There was no denying they were siblings. "You wanted to speak with me?" asked David. "Yes, my name is Emily. I know. This will sound crazy, but were you adopted as a baby?" David was startled by the question. "How do you know that?" "Because I was too, and I believe we're siblings." David looked her up and down, clearly shocked by their physical resemblance. "I think we should talk in private," he said, opening the office door. They sat down, and Emily recounted the whole story of meeting Margaret the day before. "Let me see if I understand," said David, running his hands through his hair. "A woman showed up and said we're triplets." "Exactly, and that we have another brother, Daniel. This is surreal." Emily showed the photos Margaret had given her. David studied them for a long time. "We really do look alike," he finally said. "Do you want to meet our birth mother?" "I don't know. This is so sudden. I need to process it." "I understand. It's hard for me, too." They talked for another hour. David shared about his childhood with his adoptive parents, who had been wonderful, his career, his love for animals. Emily talked about her own life, the cancer, the divorce, her work at the hospital. "Do you want to meet Daniel too?" asked David. "Yes, do you?" "I think so. If we're really siblings, we have the right to know each other." They agreed to look for Daniel together the next day. David needed a night to digest everything he'd learned. On the way home, Emily was both euphoric and anxious. "How did it go?" asked Robert. "Amazing. He's exactly how I'd imagine a brother of mine would be. Kind, funny, thoughtful." "And he believed the story?" "Yes, the physical resemblance is undeniable. And some of the things we talked about, it was like we'd known each other for years." The next morning, Emily and David met in front of the engineering office where Daniel worked. It was a commercial building in downtown Denver. "Are you nervous?" David asked. "Very, and you?" "Sour, me too." They went up to the 5th floor and asked for the office where Daniel was a partner. The receptionist greeted them politely. "Mr. Daniel is in a meeting. Do you have an appointment?" "No, but it's a very urgent family matter," Emily said. "Can you wait a few minutes? The meeting is almost over." They sat in the waiting room. David held Emily's hand, both trembling with nerves. 10 minutes later, a man in a suit stepped out of one of the rooms, accompanied by some clients. Emily and David immediately exchanged glances. Daniel looked exactly like David. Same height, same face, same mannerisms. The only difference was that he wore glasses and styled his hair differently. Daniel said goodbye to the clients and turned to the receptionist. "Karen, can you cancel my next meeting? I need to take care of some things." "Mr. Daniel." The receptionist interrupted. "There are 2 people here who want to speak with you. They said it's an urgent family matter." Daniel turned and saw Emily and David. His expression changed instantly. You're siblings," Emily said, standing up. Daniel froze for a few seconds, then asked them to follow him to his office. "Sorry for the shock," he said, closing the door. "But you look incredibly like me. And David, man, it's like looking in a mirror." "That's exactly what I thought when I saw you," David replied. Emily told the whole story again to Daniel, showing the photos and explaining how she had discovered everything. Daniel listened quietly, occasionally asking for details. "So our mother, she's alive?" "She is, and she really wants to meet both of you." "What's she like?" "She seems like a good person, emotional, remorseful. She said she always thought about us." Daniel grew thoughtful. "Do you want to meet her?" David and Emily exchanged glances. "I do," David said. "Me too," Emily added. "Then let's all go together," Daniel decided. They agreed to call Margaret that same afternoon and arrange a meeting for the next day. The chosen place was a quiet cafe downtown. a neutral setting where everyone would feel more comfortable. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The meeting was set for 2 o'clock on Saturday. Emily arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, accompanied by Robert, who had insisted on offering moral support. David arrived a few minutes later, visibly nervous. Daniel was the last to arrive, carrying a bouquet of flowers. For her, he explained, slightly awkward. I didn't know if I should bring something. The three siblings sat at a table in the back of the cafe where they could see the entrance. Robert settled at a nearby table, respecting the family moment, but staying available in case Emily needed him. At exactly 2, Margaret appeared at the cafe door. She wore a simple, navy blue dress and carried a small purse. Her eyes scanned the cafe until she spotted the 3 young people sitting together. Emily waved discreetly, and Margaret walked toward the table, visibly emotional. "My children," she whispered as she got closer. The 3 stood up. Daniel, ever the gentleman, offered the flowers. "For you." "Thank you." Margaret held the flowers to her chest, her eyes brimming with tears. They sat down, an awkward silence hanging in the air. No one knew how to begin the conversation. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined," Margaret finally said. "Please tell us the whole story," David asked. "We want to understand what happened." Margaret took a deep breath and began recounting events from 37 years ago. "I was 16 and in my sophomore year of high school. I met your father at a party. He was older, 22, and seemed so mature and interesting to me." She paused, clearly reluctant to continue. "We dated for a few months. When I found out I was pregnant, I told him first. He said I was lying, that the baby wasn't his, and disappeared from my life." "And your parents?" asked Emily. "My parents were very strict. When I told them about the pregnancy, my father kicked me out, said I dishonored the family and never wanted to see me again." "Wow," Daniel murmured. "That's awful." "I went to live with a distant aunt who agreed to help me. But during prenatal checkups, we found out I was carrying triplets. My aunt panicked. How could a 16-year-old girl raise 3 babies alone?" Margaret stopped to sip some water, visibly emotional from the memories. "When you were born, I held you in my arms for just a few hours. They were the happiest and saddest hours of my life." "Why did you give us up for adoption?" David asked, not accusingly, just curious. "Because I loved you too much to condemn. You to a life of hardship. I had no money, no home, no family to support us. I thought that with families who could truly give you everything you deserved, you'd be happier." "And after that? Did you start a family?" Emily wanted to know. "A few years later, I met a wonderful man, Anthony. We married when I was 22. We tried for years to have children but couldn't. Eventually, we adopted a boy, Christopher. So we have an adoptive brother," Daniel asked. "You do. Christopher is 30 now. He knows about you and is eager to meet you if you're willing." "And why did you decide to look for us now?" Emily wanted to understand. "Because Anthony passed away last year, and Christopher had a son, my little grandson, who's sick in the hospital. Watching that boy fight leukemia, I thought, what if it were one of you? What if you needed me and I didn't even know where you were?" Margaret began to cry softly. "I know I have no right to ask for forgiveness. I know you might hate me for what I did, but I had to try. I needed to know if you were okay, if you were happy." Emily reached out and touched Margaret's arm. "No one hates you. You were practically a child yourself in an impossible situation." David and Daniel nodded. "We understand your decision," David said, "and we were happy with our adoptive families." "Could you tell me about your lives?" Margaret asked hopefully. For the next 2 hours, the 3 siblings shared their stories. David talked about his passion for animals, his veterinary clinic, and his single life devoted to work. Daniel spoke about his engineering firm, his ex-wife, from whom he'd divorced, amicably after struggling to have children, and his quiet but lonely routine. Emily was the last to speak. She told them about her marriage to Ryan, her cancer, being abandoned, overcoming it, and how she'd found love again with Robert. "You're all incredible people," Margaret said when they finished. "I'm so proud of who you've become." "And now," Daniel asked, "where do we go from here?" That's up to you, Margaret replied. I'd love to have a relationship with you to get to know your partners, your lives, but I'll understand if you'd rather keep your distance. Emily looked at her brothers. I'd like to try building a relationship. I've always felt something was missing in my life. Maybe this was it. A real family. Me too, David agreed. Me too, said Daniel. Margaret smiled through her tears. Then, can we meet again next week? Of course, replied Emily. And we'd like to meet Christopher too, and your grandson. When they said goodbye, there was hope in the air. It wouldn't be easy to build a family relationship after so many years, but everyone was willing to try. In the days that followed, Emily could hardly focus on anything else. The discovery of her siblings had deeply affected her. Robert noticed her excitement and fully supported her. You're glowing, he said one morning. I haven't seen you like this in a long time. It's just, for the first time in my life, I feel like I belong somewhere. I have a real family, and I'm happy for you. You all deserve this second chance. A week later, they all gathered, again this time at Margaret's house. It was a simple but cozy home in the Oakwood neighborhood, lovingly decorated and filled with photos of the late Anthony and Christopher. Christopher was there this time, a tall, dark-haired man with an outgoing personality and contagious humor. He welcomed the three siblings as if he'd known them for years. Finally, he said, hugging each of them, Mom has talked about you so much this week that I already feel like you're my blood siblings. Your mother told us about your son, said Emily. How is he? Christopher's expression darkened slightly. He's responding well to treatment, thank God. But there's still a long road ahead. If you need anything, David offered. Or if you just want to talk, Daniel added. Sometimes it helps to open up to family. Christopher smiled, clearly touched by their warmth. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Margaret had prepared a special lunch for the occasion. The table was set with care, and she had cooked some dishes she remembered were Christopher's favorites as a child. Over lunch, conversation flowed naturally. Christopher shared funny childhood stories. Margaret reminisced about moments with Anthony, and the three siblings shared anecdotes from their own lives. You know what's amazing? Christopher said at one point. The three of you have the same mannerisms. The way you move your hands when you talk, how you laugh, it's incredible. It's true, Margaret agreed. Even raised apart, you share so many similarities. Must be genetics, David said. Some things are stronger than upbringing. After lunch, Margaret showed them old photo albums. There were a few pictures of the three as babies, and many of Christopher growing up. I always kept these photos. Of you? Margaret explained, pointing to the hospital pictures. They were my most treasured possessions. Emily held one of the photos, studying the three identical babies. It's hard to believe that's us. You were such calm babies, Margaret recalled. You rarely cried at the same time. It was like you knew to take turns so you wouldn't drive me crazy. And now, Daniel asked, what kind of relationship would you like to have with us? Margaret hesitated before answering. I'd like to be part of your lives, but I know I can't expect to be a mother to you. You've already had wonderful mothers. Maybe we can be friends. Very special friends. I'd like that, Emily said. Us too, David and Daniel agreed. And I'd love for you to meet my grandson, Margaret continued. He's going through a tough time, and maybe you could help him somehow, especially you, Emily, since you work with sick children. Emily didn't hesitate. Of course, we can visit him this week. He'll be so happy, Christopher said. He needs all the encouragement he can get. When it was time to leave, everyone felt they had taken a big step forward. The family connections were forming naturally, without forced situations or unrealistic expectations. Robert, who had remained quiet throughout the gathering, approached Emily as they were saying goodbye. How are you feeling? Whole, she replied, smiling. For the first time in a long time, I feel truly complete. In the following days, Emily, David, and Daniel began meeting regularly. They discovered they had much more in common than they'd imagined. All of them were hard-working, dedicated people who valued genuine relationships and had faced hardships that made them stronger. David, who had always been very reserved, was surprised by how much he enjoyed having siblings. Daniel, who had felt lonely since his divorce, found in his family a new source of joy and companionship. Emily, in turn, felt like a crucial piece of her life had finally fallen into place. A week later, they visited Margaret's grandson at the hospital. The boy, named Matthew, was 8 years old and had been hospitalized for over a month. When he saw the three adults enter the room, his eyes lit up. "Grandma, you brought my uncles and aunt." "I sure did, sweetheart. These are Emily, David, and Daniel." Matthew studied them curiously. "You look just like Dad," he said, referring to the resemblance between David and Daniel. "We're siblings," David explained, "just like you and your dad are family." "Did you have cancer too?" Matthew asked Emily. "I did, and I was completely cured, just like you will be." "Did it hurt a lot?" Emily sat on the edge of the bed. "Sometimes it did, yes. But you know what I learned? That we're much stronger than we think. And there are always people who love us, cheering us on. My grandma said you help other kids at the hospital. I do. And I'd love to be your friend too, if you'd like." "Of course I would." From that day on, Emily began visiting Matthew regularly. She brought books, games, and most importantly, talked with him about how to handle the fears and challenges of treatment. David and Daniel also became constant presences in the boy's life. David, as a veterinarian, had plenty of funny animal stories to share. Daniel, as an engineer, helped Matthew with building games and puzzles. "You're the best aunt and uncles in the world," Matthew said during one visit. "And you're the best nephew in the world," Emily replied, kissing his bald head. Robert often accompanied Emily on these visits and was amazed by her dedication. "You were born to be a mother," he told her once on their way back from the hospital. "I may never have biological children," Emily said, "but I feel like all these kids I care for are a little bit mine. And not just at the hospital. You have a natural maternal way about you. I see how you are with Karen's kids, with Matthew, with all the children in the program." Emily smiled. "Sometimes I think maybe this is my purpose in life, to care for children who need extra love and attention. It's a beautiful purpose." 3 months after the family reunion, Matthew was discharged from the hospital. His treatment had been a complete success, and he was officially cured. Margaret threw a celebration at her home, bringing the whole family together. Emily, David, and Daniel were there, along with Robert and each sibling's adoptive parents, who had been invited to meet Margaret. "I want to thank all of you," Christopher said emotionally during the party. "I don't know how we would have gotten through this without our family's support." "That's what family is for," Emily replied. "To be together in hard times and in happy ones." Margaret pulled Emily aside. "I want to tell you something. Watching you with Matthew these past few months, it was like seeing the mother I always knew you'd be." "Thank you for saying that. Have you ever thought about adopting?" asked Margaret. The question took Emily by surprise. "Adopting? Yes. You have so much love to give, so much experience with children, and there are so many children in need of a family." Emily grew thoughtful. The idea of adoption had never seriously crossed her mind during her marriage to Ryan, but now, with Robert, it seemed like a real possibility. "It's an interesting idea. You should talk to Robert about it." That night, Emily brought it up with Robert. "What do you think about the idea of us adopting a child?" Robert stopped what he was doing and looked at her. "Really? You'd want that?" "I think so. I've always wanted to be a mother, and adoption would be a way to give a family to a child who needs one." "I'd love to be a father," said Robert, "especially with you. So, should we start seriously considering it?" "I think so." They spent the next few weeks talking about adoption, researching the process, visiting shelters, and meeting children waiting for a family. It was during one of these visits that Emily met Lucas, a 6-year-old boy who had been placed for adoption by his birth parents, who couldn't care for him. Lucas was shy, with light brown hair and big, expressive eyes. He had been in a few foster homes and had been at the shelter for 8 months. "Hi, Lucas," said Emily, crouching to his level. "My name is Emily." "Hi," he replied softly. "Do you like to draw?" she asked, noticing some drawings on the little table beside him. "I do." "Can I see your drawings?" Lucas showed her his work. They were pictures of families, a father, mother, and children smiling together. "They're very beautiful. Do you want a family like that? I do, but no one wants to adopt me because I'm too big now. Emily's heart broke. Who told you that? The other kids, they say everyone wants babies, not big kids. That's not true, Lucas. There are lots of people who want to adopt children your age. Really? Of course, including me and my boyfriend. Lucas's eyes lit up. You want to adopt me? We need to get to know each other better first. But I'd love to spend more time with you. Would you like that? So much. Emily and Robert began visiting Lucas regularly. They brought games, books, and most importantly, talked with him about his dreams, fears, and hopes. Lucas was a smart and affectionate child, but he carried some emotional scars from the hardships he'd faced. He was afraid of getting too attached to adults, scared of being abandoned again. You're not going to leave too, right? He asked Emily during one visit. I'm not, Lucas. I'm here because I want to be part of your life. Forever, if you want forever. Robert also developed a special bond with the boy. He took Lucas to see the hospital where he worked, showing him what a doctor's day was like, and Lucas was fascinated. Can I be a doctor too when I grow up? He asked. Of course you can. You can be anything you want. And you'll help me study. I'll help you with everything you need. 3 months after meeting Lucas, Emily and Robert officially filed the adoption papers. The process would be long and bureaucratic, but they were determined to give this special boy a family. While waiting for the legal steps, they started bringing Lucas home for weekends. They were magical moments as the three of them learned to be a family. Margaret, David, and Daniel welcomed Lucas with open arms. He quickly became Margaret's youngest grandson and the beloved nephew of his uncles. Now I have a grandma, uncles, and soon I'll have a mum and dad, Lucas said at one family gathering. You've always had all of that, Emily replied. I was just waiting for the right moment to find out. During this time, Emily also continued her volunteer work at the hospital. She had become a reference in caring for children with cancer, and many families specifically requested her to look after their children. Dr. Jennifer, who remained her oncologist, was amazed by Emily's transformation. You're unrecognizable, she said during a routine checkup. Radiant, fulfilled, happy. It's incredible how finding one's family can change a person. It wasn't just finding family, Emily replied. It was finding my place in the world, my purpose. And what is your purpose? To care for children. To be a mother, even if not in the traditional way. To offer love and care to those who need it. That's a beautiful purpose. And you know what's best? I feel like I finally understand why I went through everything I did. The cancer, Ryan leaving me, all the pain. It was to prepare me for this moment. How so? If I hadn't gone through cancer, I never would have started working with sick children. If Ryan hadn't left me, maybe I'd never have found the strength to start over. If Margaret hadn't reached out, I wouldn't have found my family. Everything was connected. Dr. Jennifer smiled. You're a very wise person, Emily, and a survivor in the truest sense of the word. 6 months after the adoption process began, Emily and Robert received the news that Lucas was officially cleared to live with them. It was one of the happiest days of their lives. Son, Emily said, hugging Lucas, are you ready to go home? Our home? He asked, still not quite believing it. Our home, yours, mine, and Daddy Robert's. Lucas began to cry with joy. I never thought this would happen. Well, it did, and you deserve all the happiness in the world. Lucas's move to Emily and Robert's home was gradual and careful. They wanted him to feel safe and loved, not pressured or overwhelmed. Margaret helped decorate Lucas's room, David contributed some unused furniture, and Daniel installed a special study desk for the boy. Now our family is truly complete, said Christopher, watching everyone gathered at Emily's house for a celebration. It really is, Margaret agreed. I never imagined we could have so much joy. Again, Grandma, Lucas called. Can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Why did it take you so long to find Mommy Emily and Uncles David and Daniel? Margaret smiled, touched by the boy's innocent curiosity. Because sometimes the good things in life need to wait for the right moment. If I'd found them sooner, maybe we wouldn't all be here today, including you. So it was good that you waited. It was wonderful that we waited. Lucas snuggled into Emily's lap. "Mommy, I love you." "I love you too, my son. More than you can imagine." Robert came over and hugged them both. "I love you both, too. And I love all three of you," Lucas said, laughing. In the following months, the family's life flowed harmoniously. Lucas adjusted perfectly to the new routine. He started attending a school near home, where he quickly made friends and excelled academically. Emily scaled back her volunteer work at the hospital a bit to focus more on motherhood, but she remained an important presence in the lives of the sick children. Robert, in turn, discovered he loved being a father. He helped Lucas with homework, took the boy to explore different places in Denver, and on weekends they had long conversations about all sorts of things. "Daddy Robert," Lucas said during one of these talks, "did you always want to have kids?" "I always did, yes. But I never found the right person to be the mother of my children. And now you have? I found the perfect person to be a mother. And I found the perfect son, too. Even though I'm not really your son." Robert stopped what he was doing and looked seriously at Lucas. "Lucas, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you. You are my real son. Maybe you weren't born from me, but you're my son in my heart. And that's what matters. So you'll never send me back to the shelter?" "Never. You're my son forever. Nothing in the world will change that." Lucas threw himself into Robert's arms, relieved and happy. These conversations were important for Lucas to process his new reality and feel secure in the family. Emily and Robert had always been patient and understanding with the boy's fears and anxieties. A year after the adoption, Lucas was completely settled. He was a joyful, confident child full of dreams. He wanted to be a doctor like his father, a teacher like his mother, and a vet like his uncle David. "Can I be all of those at the same time?" he asked during a Sunday lunch at Margaret's house. "You can be anything you want," Emily replied, "but maybe it's better to choose one profession at a time. Then I'll be a doctor first, then a teacher, then a vet." "Great plan," David said, laughing. "And when I grow up, I'll adopt a child too," Lucas continued. "Why?" Daniel asked. "Because having a family is really good. All children deserve to have a family." Margaret wiped a tear from her cheek. "What a special boy," she whispered to Emily. "He's ours," Emily replied proudly. 2 years after the adoption, Emily received an unexpected call. It was from the social worker at the shelter where she had met Lucas. "Emily, we have a special situation here. 3 siblings have arrived who need to be adopted together. They're little, 6, 4, and 2 years old. We know you have experience with adoption, and I thought of reaching out to you." Emily was intrigued. 3 siblings? "Yes, their parents had drug problems and lost custody. The children are healthy, but they need a family who can take them all together. We don't want to separate them. Can I talk to my husband and get back to you?" "Of course. But if you're interested, I'd like you to meet them soon. They really need stability." Emily hung up and grew thoughtful. 3 children was a huge challenge, but the idea of separating siblings deeply troubled her. When Robert got home from work, she told him about the call. 3 kids, Emily, that would completely change our lives." "I know, but I can't stop thinking about how they need to stay together." "And what about Lucas? How would he feel?" "We can talk to him. He's always said he wanted siblings." They decided at least to meet the children before making any decisions. That weekend, they visited the shelter with Lucas. The 3 children were truly special. The oldest, Sophia, was 6 and took care of her younger siblings with impressive maturity. The middle child, Gabriel, was 4, very shy and affectionate. The youngest, Valentina, was 2, a clever and cheerful little girl. "Are they really siblings?" Lucas asked, watching the 3 children play together. "Yes," Emily replied. "Like you and me, Mom." "Exactly like you and me. Family isn't just who you're born with. It's who you love." Lucas watched the children for a while. "They seem nice. Can I play with them?" Emily and Robert were moved, seeing Lucas interact naturally with the 3 kids. He showed them his toys, told them stories, and quickly became their protective big brother. "Do you want to have a family?" Lucas asked Sophia. "We really do, but only if we can stay together," she answered. "My mum and dad are really nice. They like kids, Would they adopt all three of us? Lucas looked at Emily and Robert. Are you going to adopt us? Emily and Robert exchanged glances. At that moment, seeing Lucas so happy with the children and the three siblings in need of a family, they knew what the right answer was. Let's talk about this at home, said Emily. But I think our family might grow a little bigger. On the way back home, Lucas was beyond excited. Mom, it would be amazing to have siblings. I've always wanted brothers and sisters. It would be a big responsibility, said Robert. You'd have to help take care of them. I want to help. I'll be the best big brother in the world. And you wouldn't have as much of our undivided attention, Emily reminded him. But I'd have siblings. Having brothers and sisters is way better than having all the attention. Emily and Robert were deeply moved by Lucas's generosity. That night, after Lucas fell asleep, they talked about the possibility of adopting the three children. It would be crazy, said Robert. It would, Emily agreed. 4 kids. Our house would be absolute chaos. Loud, messy, full of life. Our finances would be tighter, but not impossible. We can make it work, Robert sighed. You really want to do this, don't you? I do. What about you? I do too. I think we were meant to be parents to a big family. Then let's do it. Let's. They hugged, knowing they were about to embark on the most challenging and rewarding adventure of their lives. The adoption process for the 3 children was more complicated than Lucas's had been, but Emily and Robert were determined. They expanded the house, set up rooms for all the kids, and prepared for their new family members. Margaret, David, and Daniel fully supported their decision. Margaret helped buy clothes and toys, David and Daniel contributed furniture and decorations, and Christopher offered both emotional and practical support. Are you absolutely sure you want to do this? Margaret asked during one of the preparations. Absolutely, Emily replied. These children need a family, and we have so much love to give. It's going to be tough. Everything worth doing in life is tough, said Robert. 3 months later, Sophia, Gabriel, and Valentina were officially adopted by Emily and Robert. Their homecoming was pure joy. Lucas had made welcome signs and gave his new siblings a full tour of the house. Sophia was amazed by the room she'd temporarily share with Valentina. Gabriel loved the toys he'd been given, and Valentina immediately curled up in Emily's lap. Mommy, said Valentina, one of the first words she'd learned with her new family. Yes, sweetheart, I'm your mommy now. Forever? Forever. The first few months were truly challenging. 4 kids at home meant more noise, more activities, more responsibilities, but also more laughter, more hugs, more moments of pure happiness. Gabriel, who was very shy, took a few months to fully adjust. He had nightmares and sometimes cried for his birth parents. Emily and Robert were patient, offering endless love and understanding. Sophia naturally stepped into the role of responsible big sister, helping with Valentina and bridging the gap between the adults and Gabriel when he withdrew. Valentina, being the youngest, adapted quickly. She called Emily and Robert Mommy and Daddy as if it had always been that way. How do you manage all of this? Asked Samantha, who had come from Chicago to visit the family. We don't know, Emily laughed. We figure it out as we go. But you all seem happy. We are. Tired, but happy. And you don't miss the quieter life you had before? Emily looked around the room where Robert was helping, Lucas and Gabriel with a puzzle, while Sophia read a story to Valentina. Never. This is the life I always dreamed of having. A year after the arrival of the 3 children, the family had settled into their routine. The kids were all adjusted to school, making friends, and participating in extracurricular activities. Lucas had become an exemplary big brother, always ready to help and protect his younger siblings. Sophia had shed some of the forced maturity she had at the shelter and become a real child again. Gabriel had grown more confident and talkative. Valentina was thriving, surrounded by love and care. Mom, Sophia said one afternoon as she helped Emily prepare dinner, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Why did you want to adopt so many kids? Emily thought about her answer. Because every child deserves a family, and because I have so much love to give. But it must be hard taking care of 4 kids. It is hard. Yes, but it's also wonderful. Each of you teaches me something new every day. What do I teach you? You teach me about responsibility and care, about how to be strong when you need to protect the people you love. Sophia smiled proudly. And I like being your daughter. And I love being your mum. That evening at dinner, Robert made an announcement. Kids, your mum and I have some news for you. What news? Lucas asked. You're going to have another brother or sister. The children exchanged confused glances. Are you adopting another kid? Sophia asked. Emily and Robert shared a smile. Not exactly, Emily said. This time the baby is growing in Mommy's belly. There was a moment of silence, then an explosion of joy. You're pregnant? Lucas shouted, jumping from his chair. I am, Emily replied, her voice thick with emotion. But you said you couldn't. Have kids, Sophia said. I thought I couldn't. But sometimes life surprises us. Gabriel, who was usually shy, walked up to Emily and placed his hand on her belly. There's a baby in there. Yes, still very tiny, but yes. Can I feel it? It's not big enough for you to feel yet, but in a few months you will. Valentina, who didn't fully understand what was happening but sensed the excitement, started clapping. Baby, baby. That's right, sweetheart, you're going to have a little brother or sister. Robert watched the scene with emotion. After years of thinking fatherhood would be difficult, he now had 4 children and another on the way. How did this happen? He asked Emily later when they were alone. I think it was all the love in our home, she replied. Maybe my body finally felt ready to bring a life into the world. Or maybe it really was a miracle. Maybe. But I'd rather believe it was love. Emily's pregnancy went smoothly. The kids were overjoyed about the baby, each wanting to help in their own way. Lucas insisted on talking to his mother's belly every night, telling the baby about his day. Sophia helped organize the baby clothes and nursery. Gabriel drew pictures to decorate the crib. Valentina gave Mommy's belly kisses whenever she could. Margaret, David, and Daniel were just as excited. This would be the first baby in the family since Matthew was born, and everyone was ready to spoil the little one. I can't believe I'm going to be a great-grandmother at 62, Margaret said, knitting a baby blanket. Are you happy? Emily asked. Happier than I ever thought possible, when I think about how scattered our family was 2 years ago and see what we have now. It really is incredible. You've built something very special, Emily, a family rooted in real love. It wasn't just us. Everyone contributed, but you were at the heart of it all. Your strength, your generosity, your capacity to love. Emily Johnson was moved. Thank you for reaching out to me, Margaret, for giving me a family. Thank you for giving me a second chance to be a mother, even if not in the traditional way. The baby was born on a spring morning, surrounded by all the love a child could receive. It was a girl named Hope, in honor of all the good in the family's life. She's perfect, said Robert, cradling his daughter in his arms. She looks just like Mommy, said Lucas, gazing at his baby sister. No, she looks like Daddy, argued Sophia. She looks like herself, Emily said, laughing. And she's perfect. The children took turns holding their new sister, each more smitten than the last. Valentina, now 3 years old, insisted the baby was her baby. My sister, she said possessively. She's all of our sister, corrected Gabriel, now 6 and much more talkative. But I'll take care of her, Valentina insisted. We'll all take care of her, Sophia said, ever the diplomat. Margaret arrived at the hospital with David, Daniel, and Christopher, all eager to meet the newest family member. She's beautiful, David said in awe. Like a little angel, Daniel added. Welcome to the craziest family in Denver, Christopher joked. Crazy, but full of love, Margaret corrected, kissing her great-granddaughter's forehead. In the months that followed, Emily and Robert's home became a hive of activity. 5 children of different ages, each with their own needs and personalities, kept the parents busy around the clock, but neither of them regretted a thing. The house was always filled with laughter, games, chatter, and so much love. Emily had cut back even more on her volunteer work at the hospital to focus on her children, though she still kept in touch with the kids she'd helped. Many sent little letters and drawings to Aunt Emily, who had made such a difference in their lives. Robert managed to arrange a more flexible schedule at the hospital to spend more time with his family. He loved waking up early to help the kids get ready for school and made sure to be home for dinner to hear about everyone's day. "Daddy," Gabriel said during one of these conversations, "did you always want this many kids?" "I always wanted a big, happy family," Robert replied, "and that's exactly what we have. Even when we make a mess, especially when you make a mess, it means you feel at home." Lucas, now 9, had become an exemplary big brother. He helped the younger ones with homework, played with them, and protected them when needed. "Mom," he said one afternoon while helping change Hope's diaper, "do you think Hope will want siblings when she grows up?" Emily laughed. "I think she already has enough siblings, don't you?" "But what if another kid needs a family? Lucas, would you like another child to join us?" "Only if they really need a family, because family is important." Emily hugged her son, touched by his generosity. "You're right. Family is very important, and you're a very special boy. Because you taught me to be special." "You were already special when I met you. I just helped you see it." 2 years after Hope's birth, the family had found a perfect balance. The older kids helped with the youngest, everyone had their responsibilities and privileges, and the home ran like a small community built on love and mutual respect. Sometimes Emily and Robert would look at each other and marvel at how much their lives had changed. He had gone from a single man devoted only to work to a father of 5. She had gone from a woman who thought she would never be a mother to a mother of 5 children. And on top of that, she had managed to get pregnant. Naturally. "Do you have any regrets?" Robert asked one night when they finally managed to sit together on the couch after putting all the children to bed. "None," Emily answered without hesitation. "And you?" "None either." "Well, maybe I regret not having met you sooner. If we had met earlier, maybe we wouldn't have built exactly the family we have today." "That's true. Everything happened at the right time." "Exactly. My cancer led me to the hospital, where I met you. My divorce made me available for a new relationship. Margaret reaching out gave me a biological family. Everything was connected. And now we're complete. We have a big, beautiful family, full of love and stories to tell." "Do you really think we're complete?" Robert teased. "Completely. 5 kids are more than enough for a lifetime of adventures." I couldn't agree more. They sat in silence for a few minutes, enjoying the moment of peace. "Robert?" "Yes? I love you. I love our family. I love our crazy, wonderful life. I love all of that too. And most of all, I love you. Even with all the craziness, the rush, the responsibility, especially because of all that. This is the life I always dreamed of having, even when I didn't know it was what I wanted." Emily nestled into Robert's chest. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "Ryan left me thinking I was a burden, a sick person who would only bring problems. And now look at me, a mother of 5, with a wonderful family, completely fulfilled. He missed out on the most amazing woman in the world. No, he missed out on building a family. But I didn't. I gained everything. We gained everything." A few years later, Emily received an unexpected call. It was Ryan. "Emily, it's me, Ryan." Emily was surprised. It had been over 5 years since she'd heard from her ex-husband. "Ryan, what's going on?" I'd like to talk to you in person if possible." "About what?" "About what happened between us, about how I treated you. I'd like to apologize." Emily hesitated. She had completely moved on from the trauma of being abandoned, but she wasn't sure if she wanted to reopen that chapter of her life. "Ryan, that was a long time ago. There's no need." "Please, Emily, I need to do this. For myself." Emily sighed. "All right, we can meet at a cafe downtown, but I can't stay long." "Of course, thank you." They scheduled for the next day. Emily told Robert about the call. "Do you want me to come with you?" he offered. "No, I'd rather go alone, but thank you for offering." "Are you sure you want to do this?" "I'm curious about what he wants, and maybe it'll be good to have this conversation." The next day, Emily arrived at the cafe and found Ryan already waiting. He looked different, thinner, with some wrinkles, graying hair. He seemed older than he really was. "Emily," he stood when he saw her. "Thank you for coming." "Hi, Ryan." They sat, an awkward silence hanging in the air. "Are you doing well?" he asked. "I'm great, and you?" "Well, not so great, actually." Emily waited for him to continue. "Emily, I wanted to apologize for what I did, for how I treated you, for abandoning you at your hardest moment." "Ryan, let me finish, please. I know there's no excuse. I was cowardly, selfish, a terrible husband. You didn't deserve any of it." "Why are you telling me this now?" Ryan sighed heavily. "Because life has taught me some hard lessons. After we divorced, I married Tamika, the architect." "I know." "We had 2 children together. I thought it would be different, that I'd be happy." "And weren't you?" "I was, for a while. But last year, Tamika found out she had ovarian cancer." Emily felt a chill in her stomach. "What happened?" I had the same reaction I had with you. I couldn't handle it. I started pulling away, making excuses not to go with her to treatment." "Ryan." "She noticed, of course, and she gave me an ultimatum. Either I stood by her for real, or she'd rather go through it alone." "And what did you do?" "I ran away again. I abandoned my second wife when she was sick, left my kids with her, and we separated." Emily didn't know what to say. "Did she recover?" "She did, yes, but alone. She took care of the kids, went through treatment, got better all by herself, just like you did." "And your children?" "They hate me, think I'm a coward, and they're right." "Ryan, why are you telling me this?" "Because I realized the problem wasn't you or Tamika. The problem was me. I can't handle adversity. I can't be the man the people I love need me to be." Emily pitied him, but didn't know how to help. "And now I'm alone. I lost 2 amazing women because of my cowardice. I lost the chance to be a present father to my kids, and I came here to apologize to you because you didn't deserve what I did. I forgive you, Ryan." "Really?" "I do. Not because you deserve it, but because I need to. Holding on to resentment isn't good for anyone." "Thank you. But I want you to know something. I don't need your apologies anymore. My life is wonderful now. I'm married to an incredible man. I have 5 children, a big, happy family. What you did to me, in the end, led me right where I needed to be." Ryan looked at her in surprise. 5 kids?" 5. 4 adopted and 1 biological." "You were able to get pregnant?" "I was. When I found the right man, my body responded." Ryan lowered his head, clearly ashamed. "You deserve all the happiness in the world, Emily. And I have all the happiness in the world. Your family must be so lucky to have you." "We're lucky to have found each other." They said goodbye soon after. Emily left the cafe feeling like she had finally closed a chapter of her life. Ryan had given her the chance to forgive and move on, and she was grateful for that. When she got home, she found the usual organized chaos of her life. Robert was in the kitchen making dinner. Lucas was helping Sophia with her math homework. Gabriel was playing with Valentina in the living room, and Hope was sleeping in Margaret's arms. She had come to visit. "How did it go?" Robert asked, leaning in to kiss her. "Good. He wanted to apologize. I forgave him." Chapter officially closed. "That's great." "Mommy!" Valentina ran to hug her. "Grandma Margaret told us stories." "That's wonderful, sweetheart." "What stories?" "Stories about when you were a baby." Emily looked at Margaret, who grinned mischievously. "What stories?" "Margaret, I told them how well-behaved you 3 were as babies, and how I always dreamed you'd have kids of your own one day." "And now I have 5, Emily laughed. "And they're all wonderful," Margaret said, kissing Hope's head as she woke up to the noise and reached for her mother. Emily picked up her daughter and looked around at her family. Robert cooking with his usual love, the kids playing and helping each other, Margaret sharing family stories, the house full of life and joy. "You know what's amazing," she said to Margaret. "What?" "A few years ago I thought my life was over. I was sick, abandoned, alone, and now you have everything you ever wanted." "I have more than I ever wanted, more than I ever dreamed was possible." You deserve all of it, Emily. We all deserve it. You also deserve to have your family back. Margaret smiled, her eyes brimming with tears. I don't have the words to thank you for everything you've given me. A family, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, a purpose. You've given us far more than you've received. You gave us each other. That night, after putting all the children to bed, Emily sat in Hope's room and watched her daughters sleep. She thought about her entire journey. The cancer, the abandonment, the loneliness, the discovery of family, true love, becoming a mother multiple times over, and now this complete personal fulfillment. Robert appeared in the doorway. What are you thinking about? How surprising life can be. How the bad things can lead us to the most wonderful things. Do you regret anything you've been through? Emily thought for a moment. No, not the cancer, not Ryan, not the hardships. Everything. It was necessary to bring me here. To our crazy, wonderful family. Exactly. Our perfect family in all its imperfection. Do you feel complete now, finally? Emily smiled. Completely complete. I don't need anything else. I have everything a person could dream of having. Good to know, because I'm not sure we'd have room for more kids. Definitely not, Emily laughed. But if someday a child appears who desperately needs a family... No, Robert said, laughing. 5 is the absolute limit. Promise me 5 is the limit. I promise 5 is the limit. Thank goodness. They left the room and walked hand in hand to their own bedroom. Down the hall, they could hear the steady breathing of their sleeping children, the most beautiful sound in the world to them. Robert, yes, I love you. I love you too. More than I ever thought possible to love someone. Even with all the chaos, the craziness, the responsibility. Especially because of all that. This is the life I always wanted, even when I didn't know it was what I wanted. We're a lucky family. We're a blessed family. And they truly were. Emily had discovered that true love wasn't just the love between partners, but also the love of family, the love for her children, the love for a life built with effort and dedication. Ryan had abandoned her, thinking she was weak, sick, a burden. But she had proven herself strong, healthy, capable of building a beautiful, happy family. Sometimes the greatest betrayals and abandonments lead us to the greatest gifts life can offer. And Emily was living proof that it's possible to start over, to find happiness even after great disappointments, and that family is so much more than blood. It's love, dedication, presence, and choice. That night, Emily slept deeply, surrounded by the love of her family. She had found her place in the world, her purpose, her complete fulfillment. She didn't need anything else because she had everything. The end. Now tell us what you thought of the story and if it touched your heart in any way. Do you believe Emily made the right decisions throughout her journey? Share your honest thoughts about this family that came together in such a special way. We'd love to read your opinion and your own experiences with family and overcoming challenges. Thank you so much for joining us on this emotional journey. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories.